speakers today, alhamdulillah. So the first one that I'll introduce is Professor al-Fattah El-Awaisi. He's a professor of international relations, and he is currently in the Social Science University of Ankara in Turkey, but he's also a visiting professor in University Utara Malaysia. He's also the founder of the Islamic Jerusalem Research Academy, and also he is a proponent of two new geopolitical theories. One is about the Barakah Circle, and the other one is the Aman theory. He's had quite a illustrious career, but we'll let him talk a bit more about that. And our second speaker is Dr. Hafidzi Muhammad Noor. He's the chairman of the board of trustees of IKRAM, which is sort of the umbrella organization for various different humanitarian works across different countries. One of which is Palestine, specifically Aqsa Sharif, which deals with issues related to Palestine. He's also the founder of the Palestine Center of Excellence, and he was in the board of trustees for the mission to Gaza in 2012, and he also led the mission Aqsa to Gaza 10, which was again in 2012, but in the 29th of November. He's given a lot of talks and had a lot of discussions regarding Palestine, and he's also an author of a number of books and articles. Of note, he also received the National Maulidur Rasul Award in 2014 due to services in humanitarian causes. For his professional life, he is also an associate professor in the Faculty of Agriculture in University Putra Malaysia. So yeah, as you can see, very illustrious and influential people, inshallah. Right then, so I'll hand the mic over to Tuan Haji Sharul Aman, just to give the opening remarks as our distinguished guest.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Iskandar. Esteemed speakers, my close compatriot and teacher of Palestinian activism, Dr. Hafidzi, Professor al-Fattah El-Awaisi, joint organizers for today's precious event, IDP from IKRAM UKE and Harmoni Malaysia. And last but not never the least, all guests viewing in from all over the world. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon all of you. It is indeed a great honor to attend today's precious event, one I believe which is contributory towards resolving a crisis on humanity for ever so long. The world must not stay mum over the Palestinian predicament, neither should we be constantly firefighting, only to react to the cyclical attacks and truths which undeniably results in massive destruction and loss of innocent lives. Globally, there's a small or some disparity between government positions and people's sentiments, with a few exceptions, of course, which require a critical mass or tipping point, like in the case of eliminating the South African apartheid. The world must converge to resolve the Palestinian issue. Thus, the advocacy and endeavor to free Palestine, a blessed land, a land of barakah, must go on. I wish to bring to our attention some ideas from a resolution during an emergency meeting by the Global Coalition in support of Jerusalem and Palestine, al-Ikhtilaf al-Alami li-Nusrah al-Quds wa Palestine, at the height of the recent Gaza attacks. The meeting was attended by more than 200 political and intellectual leaders, scholars, parliamentarians, civil society activists, media professionals, youth and women leaders representing more than 50 countries. The most prominent was Khalid Mishal from Palestine, Sheikh Dr. Abdul Majid Al-Zindani from Yemen, Sheikh Salman Al-Nadawi from India, Sheikh Muthanna Harith Ad-Dari from Iraq, former Tunisian Prime Minister Hamadi Jabali, and Prof. Hamam Saeed from Jordan. A pertinent action that was pointed out is the role that needs to be played by everyone, be it Islamic, national, patriotic movements and scholars in influencing their governments to support the positions for the freedom of Palestine. Popular mass movements must be revived, and the move towards normalization with Zionist Israel must be stopped. In Malaysia, even under a state of emergency where parliament is not convening and there is a strict movement control order that restricts physical congregation and movement due to significant spikes in COVID-19 incidents, the people of Malaysia stand together with Palestine from all walks of life. The King or Yang di-Pertuan Agong has ordered the people to perform hajat prayers for Palestine. The Prime Minister, Tun Mahathir, Datuk Sri Anwar, and many leaders have spoken out of concern for Palestine. Political parties, be it from the government or the oppositions, have all raised campaigns for Palestine. Media have boosted the visibility and awareness to the public, and countless numbers of NGOs and NGIs and celebrities, influencers, youth groups lend their hand in campaigning and raising funds for Palestine, even with Israeli threats against Malaysia. IKRAM is of no exception. When the attack on Masjid al-Aqsa and Gaza began, we have initiated 25 special task force to embark on Palestinian campaigns and have mobilized our 25,000 members and agencies to put in time, effort, and creativity in all possible platforms, from online talks, webinars in various languages, virtual runs, global right events, cartoon and poster competitions, etc., etc., etc. How can we, as sane human beings with a heart, be a mere bystander whilst the atrocities take place? Reason for our My Heart at Palestine or Palestine di Hati campaign hashtags, which we hope will achieve millions in reach, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, special guests, on the 21st of May 2021, 11 days after the atrocities on Gaza began, the world witnessed a ceasefire. Many have celebrated, but if we ponder deeply enough, this move does not resolve the long-standing Palestinian predicament. Who will claim responsibility for the more than 200 people, including innocent women and children who have been martyred? Who will rebuild the more than 14,000 houses damaged or completely demolished? Who will aid the 120,000 displaced peoples from their homes? And the list goes on and on and on. The current scenario of unseating Netanyahu and a shift to the ultra-nationalist and right-wing politics should raise our concerns further. So you see, things are not getting better if you don't work at it. It is our collective responsibility, a global responsibility for humankind. We all have to play our roles in this. The global conversation and exposure must not stop. And again, the advocacy, humanitarian aid, and endeavor to free Palestine must never stop. Inshallah, let's all continue to garner support for Palestine. Our prayers are for the Palestinian people, their perseverance, and for Palestine and Al-Quds to be free from the river to the sea. I do hope for a fruitful and enlightening session today. Thank you again for this great effort. Jazakumullah khairan kathira. Tashukkur idrum. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Tuan Haji Syarul Aman, for your very inspiring words and I think important points which you have pointed out. Hopefully we'll try and address some of them, but as you can imagine, this issue is close to our hearts, but it's also got a lot of facets to it. I think before everything else, I forgot to mention how we would actually conduct the session. So what we'll do is we'll ask questions to either speaker, and for each question, there's about 15 minutes roughly. You can have less or more, but then if it sort of goes over the time, I might give a reminder, and we'll see where things go from there. And we've roughly allocated about 1.5 hours for these questions, and following that, then we'll go through the questions from the audience. And there are quite a few, so we might not be able to finish all of them. Okay, so right, inshallah we'll get started. So as you're aware, the name of this talk/forum is Palestine, Past, Present and Future. And I think that while there are quite a few of us who do know in quite a bit of detail the ins and outs of how this became a problem and where the past of it, I think for others it barely registers in their minds. So the first question which I want to ask to Professor El-Awaisi is, why is the Palestinian issue so important for Muslims and also for the rest of the world? For Muslims, maybe it's easier for us to empathize, but for the rest of the world, specifically for those who are not, the people of the book, why should they care about it? Over to you, Professor.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for organizing this forum. Hopefully we can raise some points and some practical action which we can take, because I think it's time for action, especially after this atrocity and this attack on al-Masjid al-Aqsa and the whole of the Holy Land, including Gaza, West Bank, and inside Palestine in 1948, which is still continues. So thank you for inviting me. I'm glad this is my second time for me participating with your activity, and I'm glad to be with my brother Dr. Hafidzi. Alhamdulillah, I met him first time at UUM. There was a conference 10 years ago, and unfortunately after that, although I am a regular visitor to Malaysia for 20 years, but unfortunately I haven't a chance to meet with him. So I'm glad to be with him after 10 years of our conference at UUM. May Allah give barakah to his work and to all of your work, inshallah. Answering your question, I'm a theorist, and let me start by maybe shocking, maybe not shocking, but let me start focusing on the terminology. You ask why the Palestinian issue. If it is a Palestinian issue, this means this is a nationalist issue. Why you Malaysians should be interested in this? If it is a Palestinian issue, why a Muslim in UK or a Muslim in Kuala Lumpur or in the rest of the Muslim country, why they should be interested? They should not be interested. So I think we need to correct ourselves. This is not a Palestinian issue. If it is a Palestinian issue, then the Palestinian, we should leave the Palestinian to resolve their problem like any other local issue in the Muslim country. There is local issue in Malaysia. Malaysians deal with it. There is local issue for British Muslim or Muslim in Britain. They have to deal with it. But this is when it is a local. So when we say Palestinian issue, conceptually and theoretically, this is wrong. This is not acceptable. And I have seen Muslims, unfortunately, good Muslims, they are saying this is a Palestine issue or a Palestinian issue. It is not. And thank you for allowing me to give why it is this issue is very important to Muslim. I think your second part of the question helped to clarify this point, why it is so important for Muslims and for the rest of the world. So my starting point, this is not a Palestinian issue, nor it is an Arab issue. And this is one of the mistakes happened by the Arabs in 1974 in the conference of Rabat, the Arab leaders. When they met in Rabat in 1974, they decided that this is a Palestinian issue. And unfortunately, we follow the Arab leaders' mistake. When they said in 1974, the PLO is the sole representative of the Palestinian people. So we transfer it. We transfer it from being an Islamic issue to an Arab issue. And in 1974, we transfer it to be an Arab, Palestinian issue. So we need, after what is happening now, we need to correct this. So I'm proposing to my brothers and sisters here, this is not a Palestinian issue. This is not an Arab issue. This is an Islamic issue. This is an Islamic issue. And I will share with you why it is an Islamic issue. Why a Muslim in Malaysia or a Muslim in the UK must, I'm not using the word should, must involve in solving this problem. So number one, why it is an Islamic issue? Because it's linked with the Aqidah of the Muslims. It is linked with the Aqidah of the Muslim. How it is linked by the Aqidah of the Muslim? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after the first revelation to Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam in Mecca, he directed him to pray towards al-Masjid al-Aqsa. So the first qibla of the Muslim from the first day after the revelation of Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, it was to pray. There was two prayers. After Isra and Mi'raj, it was 5 prayers. But after the first revelation, there was 2 prayers, one in the morning and one in the evening, and there is also the Qiyam al-Layl. I will not go in much details in this. This is need a full lecture talking about this. So the direction where the Muslims, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the early Muslims in Mecca, until he immigrated to Medina, he continued also to pray towards al-Masjid al-Aqsa for 16 or 17 months. So in total, 14 years and a half, 14 years and a half, the first qibla of the Muslims were towards al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. Secondly, I'm showing you that this is connecting with the Aqidah of the Muslim. Secondly, 1/3 of the Quran revealed in Mecca, it was talking about the Holy Land. It was talking about al-Ard al-Muqaddasa, al-Ard al-Mubaraka, Bayt al-Maqdis. So we know that there is difference between the Quran revealed in Mecca and the Quran revealed in Medina. The Quran revealed in Mecca were to establish the Aqidah of the Muslim. So most of the verses related to Bayt al-Maqdis and the Masjid al-Aqsa were revealed in Mecca. So this is where the Aqidah part become connected with this Islamic issue. That's number one. So it is an Aqidah issue. It's not a Palestinian issue. I'm saying it again. We should not go through nationalists. We should not go through nationalists. This is an Islamic issue connected with the Aqidah of all the Muslims. That's number one. Number two, it is the wasiyah, the will of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was dying, he recommended or gave a will to 3 things: to women, secondly to Salat, and thirdly to the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. Because Rasulullah after Isra and Mi'raj start putting a strategic plan, and this is one of the things the Muslims are missing nowadays. The Muslims are emotional. The Muslims are attaching to this issue emotional, collecting funds, but not collecting the knowledge and the brain to help preparing, putting a strategic plan for the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and I have a research published on this, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam after al-Isra al-Mi'raj start putting the strategic plan, and his strategic plan were based on 3 elements: knowledge preparation, political preparation, and military preparation. So Rasulullah, when he was dying, he was insisting of completing the military preparation by saying, "Anfidhu ba'tha Usama," please send the mission of Usama to continue the military plan. So it is Bayt al-Maqdis and the Masjid al-Aqsa is the will of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Thirdly, it is the amana of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. Umar ibn al-Khattab conquered, completed the plan of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he was the liberator, the Fatih of al-Masjid al-Aqsa and Bayt al-Maqdis. So he gave this amana, and unfortunately we lost this amana, and it was the amana of Umar. It was Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, amana of Imaduddin wa Nuruddin and Salahuddin, and it is the amana of Qutuz. It is the amana of Sultan Muhammad al-Fatih. It is the amana of Sultan Sulaiman al-Thani. It is the amana of all the conqueror of this place. Number 4 or number 3, I missed the number. Geopolitically, and this is my area of expertise within international relations. Geopolitically, who rules Bayt al-Maqdis, control the whole of the world. And I don't need to go in details. This is a big subject. So why Muslims need to concern about this? It is for their own sake. It is for their sake. If they would like to be in an international position, they must liberate this place. The next reason we need this is connected with Bayt al-Maqdis. Bayt al-Maqdis, and until now I'm using the prophetic terminologies. I'm using the Quranic terminologies. I'm not using any nationalist terminology. And this is something we must, as Muslims, start thinking seriously if we are willing to participate in the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. Bayt al-Maqdis is the accurate thermometer of the Ummah, not of the Arab Ummah, not of the Palestinian, but of the Muslim Ummah. It is the accurate thermometer for the Muslim Ummah. It is, if al-Masjid al-Aqsa under occupation, the whole Ummah is under occupation. The whole Ummah, and I'm responsible for what I'm saying. If al-Masjid al-Aqsa, like now, is under occupation, the whole Ummah, the whole Muslim Ummah is under occupation. Bayt al-Maqdis and al-Masjid al-Aqsa is the mirror. Each morning before we go out, or before we live on this, we looked at our faces to make sure that we look nice. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa is the mirror. If we need to see what is the position and what is the status of the Muslim. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa and Bayt al-Maqdis is the highest motivation for Muslim to move. Why Muslim in Malaysia move? After the attack in al-Masjid al-Aqsa in Ramadan, after the attack of the Muslims in Bab al-Amud in the holy city, after the attack on the Muslims in Hayy Sheikh Jarrah, after the attack of the Muslims in Gaza, after the attack of the Muslims. So it is the one, when you touch al-Masjid al-Aqsa, and this is something for us to learn, when we run away from al-Masjid al-Aqsa, feeling among the Muslims will not be very high. So the Israelis touch the nerve of the Muslim when they attack al-Masjid al-Aqsa during the holy month of Ramadan. in the last 10 days of Ramadan and on Laylatul Qadr. That's motivate the Muslim, because it's Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa is the nerve of the Muslim. So it is the highest motivation for Muslim to move on. My last one regarding the Muslim, and I will come for very shortly why for the rest of the world. Bayt al-Maqdis and al-Masjid al-Aqsa is in need for the Muslims as the Muslims in need for al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Look at this formula. Bayt al-Maqdis and al-Masjid al-Aqsa is in need for the Muslims, and the Muslims are in need for Bayt al-Maqdis and al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Why the rest of the world should be concerned about this? This is regarding justice and injustice. Justice and injustice. This Holy Land has been under occupation first by the British in 1917, and now after the British, they have done their dirty job by establishing this Zionist state since 1947. So 73 years of the occupation. So it is the injustice. So when the rest of the world stand with Muslim, I'm not talking about Western government. I lived in the West for 35 years. Don't expect any good from any Western country. Don't expect any good from any Western country. But you can play your role among the people of in Britain, in America, and in other countries. They can play a role. We have seen the demonstration in London and in other cities in the UK. Why? Because people feel unjust happening to this land. This is in international relation. We talk about decolonialization. Most of the country were under occupation. Malaysia was under occupation. Indonesia was under occupation. Most of the Arab countries were under occupation. So there was the Western power, they withdraw from these, and this is the last unjust occupation in the Muslim country. I hope I gave an answer to my brothers and sisters listening to us, inshallah ta'ala.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Jazakallah khair for I think managed to condense quite a lot of points into 15 minutes. Certainly food for thought. And I think important to mention one about that, by use of terminology, we are sucked into thinking about it in nations, but also that fundamentally it's an issue about justice and injustice for others, and for us, more specifically, it's an issue of Aqidah. We'll move to Dr. Hafidzi next, and it's a slightly different question. I think so far, we've seen, and I'm sure you have seen also throughout your life, all these cycles of attacks and then commiserations, demonstrations, and so on. But also, the narrative that is played in the media and so on. But I think in this last cycle, it seems like the narrative in the media is a bit different. It seems like as if the world, or to us anyway, it seems like as if it is moving towards the side of the Palestinians. But what is your thought on this, and what's the future of this issue in your opinion?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Dr. Iskandar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Salatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man da'a bi da'wati ila yaumiddin. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Thank you also, jazakumullah khairan, to Brother Shahrul Aman for his opening speech. And I am very honored to see Professor Dr. al-Fattah al-Awaisi, even though not in person, online. Alhamdulillah, we have met twice actually, Professor. First, when there was a conference, a small roundtable discussion in UUM, hosted by one of your students, your former student, Associate Professor Dr. Aminur Rashid, Aminur Rashid, one of the resource person on this issue. And then another talk you delivered in University of Malaya, where you have another former student, Professor Dr. Roslan Muhammad Noor, who is now the Dean of Academy Islam, University of Malaya. So I'm very glad to see you. Still the same Professor Dr. al-Fattah al-Awaisi, with fiery speeches that give us the motivation to continue with our work, and not to relegate the Palestinian issue, or the issue of the Ummah, and to continue to have a strong faith in the future of this struggle, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan katsira. Coming back to your question, posted by Dr. Iskandar, you are in UK, Dr. Iskandar? Are you in UK? Yeah, okay, yeah. Alhamdulillah. And let me greet all the audience from all over the world, I suppose. And also, this program is also jointly organized by Belia Harmoni, a very strong student organization in Malaysia. Okay. Now we are seeing that the media especially is giving some indication that the world at large is moving towards the side of the Palestinians. Now, this is a continuation to what Professor Al-Awaisi, Abdul-Fattah Al-Awaisi, has mentioned in his opening speech, that we are actually we are on the right footing actually when we address this issue as an issue of the Ummah. Now, if I can recall what happened before the 1967 war, when President of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, when he was at the helm, and he tried to champion this issue as an issue of the Arab people, and he portrayed himself as the Arab leader, that will resolve the Palestinian issue. And he said that this issue is the issue of the Arabs, and the Arabs will liberate the Palestine. But we know what happened. The outcome of the 6-day war, it came to a total destruction of the Arab military as well as the Arab ego at that time. And then in 1964, the Arab League, they endorsed the formation of PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, and that actually relegated the issue from an Arab issue to a Palestinian issue. And we have been following this in the past, in history. It became smaller and smaller, from an Arab issue to a Palestinian issue, and then it centers around one figure, and that is Yasser Arafat. So I remember in the 70s, Yasser Arafat came to Malaysia, and there was a very big gathering. Everybody is supposed to be supporting the Palestinian issue, but we see it in the context of the Palestinian people. It is still seen in the perspective of the Palestine for the Palestinian. It never actually went out of this scope. So we keep on cheering. We keep on cheering, and we keep on giving the moral support, but it is for the sake of the Palestinians and not for the sake of the Ummah. You see what happened? The changes that took place almost drastically in 1987, but actually the process towards this has been going on since day one, since 1948, if we consider that is the starting point. The Nakba, the seeds towards portraying this issue as an issue of the Ummah actually started early on, but the manifestation actually came in 1987 in the form of the Intifada. And suddenly we see there is a sea of change. People start to view this issue from the point of view of Masjid al-Aqsa, from the point of view of Baitul Maqdis. If I can still remember during my teenage years, we never mentioned about Baitul Maqdis, and even less about Masjid al-Aqsa. The only word that can unite the Malaysian at that time was Palestine. It is never related to Baitul Maqdis. We do not know what happened, what went wrong along the way, but somehow it has become secularized, it has become Arabized under the guise of Arab nationalism, under the guise of socialism, with Nasserism, brand of Nasserism. Yeah, so we got very. When we hear speeches of Gamal Abdul Nasser, he is a very good rhetorics. He delivered very good rhetorics, but it did not spell out into actions or strategies that actually will liberate Palestine. So when Intifada happened in 1987, we are seeing this change of fervor, from something that is Arabic in nature to an Islamic in nature. And see what happened. See what happened in the last few years. We are seeing a shift in the support of the Palestinian issue. The public opinion has never been on the side of the Palestine. Even in the 80s, even in the 90s, in the early millennia, in year 2000. But now, once Gaza was under siege and under blockade since 2007, and then with the growth of the internet and the social media, we are seeing that the support and also the empathy is moving from the Israeli side to the Palestinian side. And we are seeing, for instance, in this last attack, in Ramadan and also in Shawwal, in early Shawwal, we are seeing the biggest demonstration yet. 150,000 people in London thronged the street, strongly in support of the Palestinians. And we are not talking about the Arabs in London, we are talking about every single citizens. Whether they were Arabs or non-Arabs, whether they were immigrants or Britons, all of them, they came out strongly in support of the Palestinian cause. And this gathering and demonstration is not only happening in London, but 80 cities across the nation, in Manchester, in Leeds, in Sheffield, in Cardiff, you name it. And then demonstrations in the US. People gathered in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Dallas, in San Francisco, even in New York, to strongly protest against the Israelis. Things that we will never see or have never seen in the last decade. Although there has been some build-up of support, especially when Mavi Marmara was attacked in 2010. And mind you, half of those on board were non-Muslims, non-Arabs. Half of them from Europe, 300 people from Europe. And there's even a priest on board. There's even a rabbi. So we see, this is not, although this is very much to do with Islam, but it is not a religious conflict. This is what we need to convey. This is a conflict of humanitarian against those who are against humanitarian. The Zionists. We are not against the Jews. This is another. This is another narrative that need to be corrected. We are not against the Jews. The Jews are just like any race, any nation on earth. They are just like the Malays, they are just the Chinese, they are the Arabs, and we are not against the Jews per se. We are against those who subscribe to an ideology called Zionism. And Zionism is not only restricted to the Jews. Anyone who subscribes to Zionism, be they Muslims or not, be they any kind of race, even the Malays, if they support Israel, or they even show sympathy to the Israeli cause, then they are Zionists through and through. There's no question about it. This is something that needs to be stressed and also to be reminded, because we know of some Malays in Malaysia. They deal with this issue from the angle of racism, and they consider the Jews wholesome as an enemy of Islam. That is not correct. That needs to be corrected. We have to fight, and we have to put this struggle on the right course. And what is the right course? On the course of Islam, which embrace justice, equality, and dignity of the humankind. This need to be stressed and need to be emphasized, so that everybody is on the right footing when it comes to the fight or the struggle against the Zionists. This is something that for sure to come. When we are seeing people are coming to the force of the Palestinian struggle, to the struggle of the Ummah for the Palestinians. I watched one video clip of a columnist from Haaretz, the paper, the Israeli mouthpiece of newspaper, daily. His name is Gideon Levy, if I'm not mistaken. He was invited to the Israeli lobby of the US to deliver a speech. And surprisingly, this is what he said. He said America is giving money and funds to the Israel as if Israel is a drug addict. So America is giving more and more funds so that Israeli will become a hardcore addict. So America is feeding this addiction, he said. Whereas what America should do is set up a rehabilitation center for drug addicts. And it came from a columnist from Haaretz. Okay, and then he said, these are the three features of the Israelis. Number one, they are the only colonial power. Like Professor Dr. al-Fattah al-Awaisi said, they are the last colonial project on earth. They are the only colonial power who consider themselves as a victim. They always portray themselves in any attack that they are the ones who started it, and then portray themselves as the victim and the only victim. And that's why they always resorted to this narrative of we have the right to self-defense. I think we know we have been colonized. Malaysia in particular has been colonized by different powers down the ages. We were colonized by the Portuguese, by the Dutch, by the British, and briefly by the Japanese. And none of these colonial powers have this mentality. They always have this superiority in mind, that they have the superiority in mind. They always consider us, the colonial people, as under their rule, under their colonial power. But in the case of Israel, they consider themselves as the victim and the only victim. This is the only colonial power that is behaving like this down the ages. Number one. And number two is they dehumanize the Palestinian. They consider the Palestinian as non-human, and that's why they don't have any qualms of killing them. Even school children on the way to school, they were shot at, and accuse these school children, teachers. They are actually attacking the Israeli army. So they dehumanize the Palestinian people, because that's why they don't have any problem. I'm sure most of us have watched this video clip of someone from New York. He came from New York, and he came to Sheikh Jarrah, and he took over the house. He simply took over the house. And then the house owner came out and said, "Why are you stealing my house?" And what was the answer? "If I don't steal your house, somebody else's will." This is the sort of people that we are dealing with. That's why we are telling everybody, regardless of race and creed, regardless of any religious affiliation or belief, yeah, that we are facing an enemy of humanity. The Zionists, they are not only they are not the enemies of the Muslim people or the Christian people. They are the enemies of humanity. So let's face them as an enemies of humanity for the sake of humanity, for the sake of the future of humanity. That's why all of us must come together. And we are seeing that this is beginning to take shape. Like the confession made by Gideon Levy, the columnist of Haris, yeah? And more. And another instance I would like to quote is the front page of New York. What is the newspaper from New York?
New York Times.
New York Times, right? New York Times. They posted all the children that were massacred during the last attack. All of them, under 12s. Although some people were saying that they actually posted these photos to put the blame on Hamas. It's because of Hamas these children got killed. But when you put photos with the names on them, it is a clear indication that there is some hints that they want to convey to the public. They are showing some form of empathy. They want this is a subtle mean of trying to raise the awareness of the public that what we are doing, because New York Times is a mouthpiece of the Zionist agenda. What we are doing is wrong. So that's why from one attack to another, we consider what happened in 2014 and the previous attack 2012, 2009, 2010, even the blockade on Gaza 2007 and before, even before that. We are seeing more and more people is coming out to express their support for the Palestinians and condemnation of Israel in the strongest word. Yeah? Even celebrities, even actors like many actors who came out and expressed their support, even though some of them retracted them out because they were under pressure. Yeah? The one who played the role of the Hulk, who was his name? Dr. Iskandar, who was his name? Do you remember?
Sorry.
He has about 40 million followers on his social media, and when he said that he condemned Israel in the last attack, he got 3 million likes on his social media. But then after that he retracted the statement because definitely he was under pressure, under duress by the Hollywood to retract his words and then to express support to Israel. But deep in his heart, he has the sympathy, and his sympathy goes out to the Palestinian people. So that's why as we go on in the future, we are seeing more and more people on the Palestinian side, and it's not just the Muslims. People of the right mind, from the civilian society, even among the Israelis. We can name many, Ilan Pape, Miko Pellet. They are saying positive things about Palestinian in terms and in a manner that is even showing much better understanding than most Muslims. Even when Dr. Fauzia was involved in the mission to break the siege on Zaytuna in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, there's 1 or 2 Israelis on board. One of them is Zohar, and I remember speaking to her in Italy, in Messina, when we were when we were sitting together, And he said we should not be sitting down. We should rise, and we should increase the awareness that the Palestinians are being persecuted and oppressed in Israel. And he is speaking on behalf of the Palestinian people. And another one is Naturi Karta in UK, based in UK. Yeah? Is an Orthodox Jewish organization. Every time there is an attack on Gaza, they will come out together with the demonstrators and raising placards like, not in our name. Yeah? Not in our name. I mean, what the Israelis doing is not in our name. And they are in solidarity with the Palestinian people. So as time goes by, inshallah, more and more people, especially from the civil society, they will come together as one, joining hands with every one of us of the right mind to liberate Palestine. And I would like to close my response to this question by quoting Nelson Mandela. The freedom of the world will not be complete until Palestine is free. And Nelson Mandela is not a Muslim. He is a good Christian. So this is coming more and more in the social media, and inshallah, Israeli will be isolated, and will even the US one day, even the US, the people in the US one day will go against Israel. Wallahu alam.
Thank you, Dr. Hafidzi. We're going to go to the next round, but I think there were two questions that just wanted to be highlighted. The first one was a question from one of our Malaysian MPs, Maria Chinaruma, and that was on Facebook chat, and it was about what about the Christian Palestinians and how could it just be an Islamic issue? But I think that might have been answered already. I don't know whether you wanted to say anything about that.
Yes. Sorry, Dr. Iskandar, what was the question on the Christian by
it was more
Maria?
We were talking that it was an Aqidah issue, but I think, it's also mentioned that it's a fundamental issue about justice and injustice. Yeah, I guess because the question popped out earlier and we didn't have the opportunity to ask it. Just whether you wanted to add anything to that.
Okay, can I say a few words on that? Yeah, Dr. Iskandar,
3
do I have the permission? Okay.
Just 3 minutes.
Okay. Now, of course, to us Muslim, this is an issue of the Aqidah. There's no two way about it. It's an issue of the Aqidah. But from the viewpoint of the Muslims, Aqidah is an all-encompassing concept. It's not just belief in God, Tawheed, but Tawheed is actually permeating in all aspects of our life. It is a holistic concept. Justice, equality, going against the oppressors. These are all part of our code of religion. So when we fight against oppression, it does not confine only to the Muslims. We fight oppressors to all of mankind, whether they are Muslims or not. Even if the Hindus are being oppressed, the Christians are being oppressed, it is our obligation, religious obligation, to deliver them from that oppression. From that oppression. There is a very famous saying of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. Help the oppressed and the oppressor. And then the Sahaba, the companion, asked, certainly we know how to help the oppressed, by saving him, by protecting him. But how do we save the oppressor? And Rasulullah said, stop the oppressor from his ways of oppression. It's very clear. And in terms, I want to share just maybe 1 minute, Dr. Iskandar. Our experience in Malaysia, we have been speaking on the same theme with Christian activists, Reverend Stephen Kidd, a very good advocate of the Palestinian issue, and then another one, YB Stephen Sim. He's a parliamentarian, a lawmaker. These are the people from the Christian belief, yeah, that we are working very closely together. Yeah, it across the board. Religion does not separate us when it comes to issues of humanities, yeah, issues of oppression on any section of the human race. Yeah? And we have one staff, a very dedicated staff in my care. His name is Teo An Siang. He's not a Muslim, he's not a Christian, he's a Buddhist. And he is our important mouthpiece in trying to reach out to the other ethnic communities, especially the Chinese community. He has been conducting online sessions with Chinese communities, and some of them reconsider what they have thought and also perceive about the Palestinian issue. And he has written a very strong article in a press in Hong Kong, a daily in Hong Kong, and it has been widely read. So we need people from all creed, from all races, to be on the same platform, because remember, we are facing an enemy of the humanities, enemy of the humankind, who consider themselves as higher than the humankind. So please don't let anything compartmentalize us on this regard. We are together. We are together, one and together when fighting injustices. Yeah. Wallahu alam. Thank you, Dr. Iskandar.
No problem. And this one was actually a question to Professor Abdul Fattah by Tahir Ali. So when you said Palestine is the thermometer of the Ummah, is this the message mentioned by the Prophet? If you open the chat, you can see it. And
I don't hear you quite well, Dr. Iskandar.
It's just a question inside the chat box. It was by Tahir Ali about at 11:42. What's the role of Syria and the liberation of Syria from Russian occupation in the liberation of al-Maqdis? Because I think it goes back a bit to how we've sort of seen it in terms of nations, but then when we talk about, say, for example, Biladu Sham, Sham isn't, Sham is not just Syria, it's not just Lebanon, it's sort of the entire region. But currently what's happening in Syria is another calamity in and of itself. So I wonder whether you had any thoughts on that, maybe a few minutes to shed some light on this.
Thank you very much. Let me put it in a wider perspective. During this lockdown of coronavirus, I managed to write a book which I felt there is a need for it. I hope it can be translated to Malay language. It's called A Strategic Plan for the Liberation of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. And I gave details plan for this, and I talked about Syria, about Egypt, about Iraq, about Turkey, and about the Palestinian themselves. The brother who is asking specifically about Syria, and I think that's a detail. I have written it extensively on this, but let me put it in a more wider perspective. What we Muslims and non-Muslim, and I agree with what my brother Dr. Hafidzi said about, yes, for us as a Muslim, it's an Islamic issue, but we need also the non-Muslim. And before I go in details, let me focus on what Muslims, before we go to Syria, we need to talk about Malaysia and what Malaysia they can do. And before we jump, it's very easy to start talking about others. But I think the starting point is what Malaysian, why I'm saying Malaysian, because I'm talking to my brother and sister in Malaysia, or who is studying now in the UK. What Malaysian they can do at the individual level before I come to the Ummah in general. There is a missing or what I call forgetting priority for the liberation of this Holy Land, which is the knowledge side. This is the missing priority. We are focusing in so many priorities. Collecting fund is very good. Making demonstration is very good. But it should be part of a strategic plan based on knowledge. So what we need, we need to educate ourselves. I'm glad my brother Dr. Hafidzi mentioned in his early time the word Bayt al-Maqdis and prophetic terminologies and Quranic were not there because the whole of the world were echoing the nationalist Arab feeling. So I think we need to start how you can contribute to something you don't know. Yani, for example, when you are asking, where is the Christian? Where is the Christian? This is part of the education. I have written extensively, and I developed a model in international relations regarding how the non-Muslim they can contribute. But as I'm talking to my Muslim brothers and sisters, I'm focusing on one element of this here. I have written of al-Uhd al-Umariyya, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, when he conquered Bayt al-Maqdis and the Masjid al-Aqsa, he issued a very important document which we are missing in our discussion. I spent 7 years examining this document, which is only 10 lines from Umar ibn al-Khattab. So the starting point is we need to educate ourselves. And for Muslims, yes, this is an Islamic issue. For the non-Muslim, this is unjust issue, and we need to capitalize on this to bring them. Even people inside the Holy Land. I will just mention a name of a Christian, Al-Ab Manawil Musallam. He is doing an excellent job. I have just written a foreword of a book written by a brother on him. He is saying an attack on al-Masjid al-Aqsa is an attack in all churches in the Holy Land. He is talking, supporting the Muslim in al-Masjid al-Aqsa is like supporting you religiously, is like supporting Christians. So number one is we need to educate ourselves. We need to bring this forgetting priority. Since the occupation of the British in 1917, the knowledge side were ignored by politicians, were ignored by leaders. We need to bring this back into front. When I examined the Prophet ﷺ strategic plan for the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis, knowledge started from day one until he passed away ﷺ. The political and military start on after year 6 of Al-Hijrah, but the knowledge preparation continue until his death, and then Abu Bakr and Umar radiyallahu anhu. So number one, we need to bring this forgetting priority. Secondly, to my brothers and sisters in Malaysia, we are Muslims. I'm talking to the majority who is with us here, brothers and sisters in Malaysia. They are Muslims. We need to revive. And this is at the individual level. Before I come to the collective level, we need to revive the Islamic terminologies. And I'm sure my close brother Hafidzi heard me saying this 10 years ago at UUM and also at UM. We need to revive the Islamic terminologies. What I mean by the Islamic terminology, the Quranic terminology. We should feel proud of our Quranic terminology and our prophetic terminology. We need to revive it. How we are saying this is a Aqidah issue, this for the Muslims, and this is an Islamic issue, and when we are using nationalist concept. So we need to revive. One of the forgetting terminologies is Bayt al-Maqdis. This is a prophetic terminology. And alhamdulillah, recently, I think I was busy with other research things. I managed now to write a book on this. And alhamdulillah, it has been translated into Malay and it is available online in Malay language regarding the use of the prophetic and the Quranic terminology. So I will not go in much details. The Prophet used, sometimes people confuse between al-Bayt al-Muqaddas and Bayt al-Maqdis. Bayt al-Maqdis is a region. Al-Quds is part of Bayt al-Maqdis. Al-Bayt al-Muqaddas is Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Quranic terminology, we have Al-Masjid al-Aqsa as a Quranic terminology, and we have Al-Ardul Muqaddasa as a Quranic terminology. So we need to revive this terminology. When we are talking about Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, we can use the Quranic terminology Al-Masjid al-Aqsa or the prophetic terminology Al-Bayt al-Muqaddas. When we are talking about Quranic terminology, we can use Al-Ardul al-Muqaddasa, or we can use the prophetic terminology Bayt al-Maqdis. Second, forgetting, I'm talking at the individual level. Second, forgetting priority, and this is when I mention it to my close good scholars in Sharia. I'm not a scholar in Sharia, I'm an international relation. They were surprised when they checked it. They found it a hadith sahih. al-Mu'mineen Aisha radiallahu anha reported that, said Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam will not go to sleep every night until he reads Surah al-Isra. This is a forgetting surah. I will tell you why Surah al-Isra. He will not go to bed. I'm talking at individual levels, brothers and sisters. The Prophet will not go to bed. If you are eager for the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis, you can do that from tonight. You can do this from tonight. If you need to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he will not go to bed. He will not go to bed until he read Surah al-Isra every night. Why? Surah al-Isra, reading Surah al-Isra was part of the knowledge preparation of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to the Ummah. Number one, Surah al-Isra, when you read it, it is the roadmap for the liberation of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. It is the roadmap for the liberation of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. It's talking about a comprehensive methods of preparing the one who is eager for the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. Thirdly or fourthly or secondly, Surah al-Isra spread the amal, the hope, and give us the bisharat of that this land will be liberated, inshaAllah, tabaraka wa ta'ala, in addition to the psychological impact. Alhamdulillah, before I go to bed, I read it with my family. It's not the good thing of me, but I bring my family, and we read this. So this is another forgetting, and we can do it, inshaAllah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. This is at the individual level. But if we go farther to this at the national level, at the Ummah level, if I may say it, at the Ummah level, I will say number one, the Ummah need to give a priority to ilm and ma'rifah. The Ummah need to give a priority to ilm and ma'rifah. I'm saying it for the third time. The Ummah, not the Palestinian or the Arab, the Ummah, the Muslim Ummah need to give a priority to knowledge, to ilm and ma'rifah. I'm learning this from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He put this as a priority and continue with him until he passed away. This was happened by Imaduddin, and before him the scholars al-Bursuqi and others. And then Imaduddin, Nooruddin, and Salahuddin, they give a priority to ilm and ma'rifah. Even there was a close alliances between knowledge and ma'rifah. And may I quote here Salahuddin when he conquered al-Masjid al-Aqsa. What he said to his soldiers. His soldiers were celebrating, inshallah, one day we will be celebrating entering al-Masjid al-Aqsa, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. They were celebrating that we conquer al-Masjid al-Aqsa after 88 years of the Crusader occupation. What he said to them, he said, لا تظنوا أني فتحت البلاد بسيوفكم. Don't think that I conquer or I liberated this land by your sword, by your weapon. إنما فتحتها بقلم القاضي الفاضل. I have liberated this land by the pen of al-Qadi al-Fadil, of al-Bin al-Qadi al-Fadil. So there was a collaboration. Salah ad-Din was representing the political leader and the military leader, and al-Qadi al-Fadil was representing the knowledge man. This is something we need. So we need to give a priority at the ummah to knowledge, to ilm and ma'rifah, and then we need a collaboration and alliances between the leaders, the political leaders, and the ulama who got the expertise on this. This is number one. Number two, the Palestinian, your Palestinian brother, either Muslim or a Christian, they continue their struggle within their ability and capability since the British occupation in 1917, since the British occupation of the Holy Land in 1917, and they are in continuous struggle, intifada after intifada, revolution after revolution, to get rid from this occupation. Maybe your generation, you witnessed the first intifada in 1987. I was living in the West Bank at that time, teaching at Al-Khalil University, and which is known as Al-Masajid, the most intifada. Then we have Al-Aqsa intifada. And what is happening until the last moment in Ramadan and in Shawwal, that was a continuation. So your brothers and sisters, Muslims and the Christians, they are doing what they can with their ability and capability. However, and you can quote me, this Holy Land will not be liberated on the hand of the Muslim, on the hand of the Palestinian alone. You can quote me here in this. The Holy Land and the Masjid al-Aqsa will not be liberated on the hand of Palestinians alone. It needs the whole ummah, because this project, this is a Western colonial project. This is a Western colonial project. And I can give a full lecture why it is, from working on the documents revealed by the British government in Kew Gardens in London. I came to the conclusion of the full picture of this colonial project. So the Palestinian alone cannot. They continue the jihad to keep until the ummah wake up. So we need to bring the Muslim ummah into the preparation for the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. We need to bring the ummah. Yes, it is good to raise funds from the ummah, but we need to raise the brain of the Muslim ummah. We need to bring the brain of the Muslim ummah in Pakistan, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, everywhere. As we, now, unfortunately, we focusing on raising fund for the Palestinians. This is good. I'm not saying anything about this. We must raise funds to support your Palestinian brothers and sisters. But as we are raising funds, we need also to bring the brain of the good Muslims into how we can draw a strategic plan for the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. We need to bring the ummah. We need to bring the ummah, the whole ummah. We need Malaysian to make this issue is a local issue in Malaysia. This is what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he has done. He turned this issue. He's from Mecca. But he turned this Holy Land issue as a local issue for the whole of the Muslim. Even at the early stage, talking about al-Masjid al-Aqsa, Ibn al-Arqam, on the year of 5 of al-Hijrah, or 5 of al-Bi'tha, when Umar ibn al-Khattab became Muslim, he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to ask him to go to visit al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Rasulullah asked him, why you would like to go there? He said, I would like to go to pray to al-Masjid al-Aqsa. This is from an early time. So we need to make this issue as a local issue in Malaysia. If we fail to do this, I'm talking to all NGOs in Malaysia. I'm talking about all is concerned about this issue in Malaysia. We need to turn it a local issue in Malaysia. I know there is so many local issue in Malaysia. We need to put this as a priority. We need, if Muslims are concerned, sorry, this is not the time to talk. This is the time for action. If Malaysian, I'm challenging my Malaysian brothers and sisters. If Malaysia would like to have a lead, they must turn this issue of al-Masjid al-Aqsa as a local issue in Malaysia. Instead of saying, well, I can go to visit al-Masjid al-Aqsa and I can take a selfie and then I can post it in my social media. This is a crime. Any Malaysian, I'm not a mufti. I'm not a mufti. But politically, this is a political crime. Any Malaysian visiting Al-Aqsa Mosque when it is under occupation, it is a crime. And it is against the national security of Malaysia. We know the Israelis. We know the Israelis. The Israelis welcome any Malaysian, any Muslims to come to Masjid al-Aqsa, which is under occupation, and they prevent Palestinians from the neighboring side to come and to pray there in Masjid al-Aqsa. They welcome any Malaysian to come, and they will try to recruit them to become an agent. This is why I'm saying it's a national security, and this is a big subject. I don't wish to go in much detail. So we need to bring the Muslim. We need the brain of the Muslims. We need the brain of my brother, Dr. Hafidzi. We need the brain of all the Muslims who are concerned about this holy land to sit together as we raise funds. And again, as we organize demonstration, you find me on the front of demonstration of asking, collecting. But there is a forgetting priority we need. We need the brain of the Muslims to come together to draw a strategic plan for the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. Regarding non-Muslim, and I hope this will complement what my brother Dr. Hafidzi said to the brother who asked about the Christian, we need to collaborate with the non-Muslim, not the government. I'm saying not the Western government. After 35 years of living in the Western country, they are part of this colonial project. So we need to work with the non-Muslim or the people in Western country. We need to work with. Sometimes I feel they are more advanced on us on demonstrating. These demonstrations after the attack on Gaza, led by whom? Led not by Muslims in the West, led by some churches, leaders of churches. They are on the lead on these demonstrations. We need to work with them. We need to work with them. They are under a huge pressure from the British government. They are under a huge pressure not to participate. I know after the big demonstration in London, the police raided some houses of these non-Muslim and confiscated some material there, and that was published in the British media. They are under the they have what they call the prevent in UK. I'm sure Malaysian students studying they know about this. If you are talking anything against Israel, this is anti-Semitic. So they are under this pressure, but they are doing an excellent job. So we need to collaborate and we need to work with them. And alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, there is so many voices, good voices has been raised very openly. And this is part. Go back to Surah Al-Isra. Surah Al-Isra, I said the roadmap, talking about the second time when the time of the second time, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لِيَسُوءُ فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ, when the second time comes, لِيَسُوءُ وُجُوهَكُمْ, so وَلِيَدْخُلُوا الْمَسْجِدِ وَلِيُتَبِّرُوا. So the first time, لِيَسُوءُ وُجُوهَكُمْ, this is part working with the non-Muslim and with the Western people is لِيَسُوءُ وُجُوهَهُ. What is لِيَسُوء in Palestine? When we say to someone, Allah يسود وجهك, يعني you have done a crime, so you try to hide yourself of committing this crime. We need to let the Israelis feel shame of what they are doing through. And you have the social media. Wallah, you are a generation of TikTok, and you have a generation of Twitter, and you have a generation of so many social media. In my time, there was no of this technology. So please use it, try. Right within the law of the country, don't breach the law of the country. Be careful with that. Be part. You can be part of لِيَسُوءُ وُجُوهَكُمْ. Who will make the isa'ah? The Muslims will do it to non-Muslim. I forget a very important point, that al-Masjid al-Aqsa and Bayt al-Maqdis will not be liberated until the surrounding country of the Holy Land will be liberated. And this is maybe address the question of the brother. We need Egypt to be liberated. Syria need to be liberated. Unfortunately, Egypt, since Jamal Abdel Nasser, my brother Dr. Hafidzi mentioned about Jamal Abdel Nasser, since the first military coup in 1952, even before him, but I don't wish to go in details. In particular, when Sisi came to power, Egypt, unfortunately, is under the Zionist and the Western imperialism hegemony. Egypt has been destroyed politically, economically, even morally. So Egypt needs to be liberated. Syria is under several occupations, under American occupation, under the Russian occupation, and under the Iranian occupation. Egypt must be, Syria must be liberated. Iraq, since the British and the American invasion, and after they destroy the country, they handle it to Iran. So it is ruled by Iran. So Egypt is a failed state in international relations. Egypt is a failed state. Iraq is a failed state, and Syria is no state, unfortunately. So if we, while your brothers and sisters in Palestine, in the Holy Land, they are doing what they can. In the same time, we need to work for the liberation of these countries. And we are not inventing something new. If you look at Imaduddin and Salahuddin, what they have done. Imaduddin and Salahuddin spent 16 years fighting to sort the Muslim house. In Egypt, 5.5 years against the Fatimids, and then in Bilad al-Sham for 11 years. And how long he fight against the Crusader? 5 years. So he sorted out the Muslim house. After that, the liberation, and I have written about the model of Salah ad-Din in this regard. So I'm just giving the conclusion of some what I have said. This answer is in full in my book, which Alhamdulillah I managed to write it during coronavirus, called لا إله إلا الله, talking about معالم خارطة الطريق للتحرير القادم, the main the roadmap or the main points of the roadmap. It is in Arabic. I wish your good organization or other organization can translate it, because we need the knowledge wise. Maybe I have exceeded my 15 minutes. I'm sorry if I have done so.
That's all right. Jazakallah khair. I think you've actually touched on a few different points that we wanted to talk about actually. We had a few more questions, but I was going to try and tie a few of them together. So the next question was actually about, I'll tell you the question from the audience and then what the next question is about. And this is also for you, Professor El-Awaisi. So this one, Husna was saying she wanted it to be for both speakers, but I think if you answer first. So when Masjid al-Aqsa is respected, we reach a two-state solution, Palestinians' rights are respected, do we stop fighting as an ummah? I think that's already been answered by what you've said, because you've also mentioned all the different crises going on around there. And actually, if we look further afield, even what's happening in Uyghur in China. But then the next question I wanted to ask you was, probably end up talking for longer as well, but would it be better to work towards either a two-state solution, a one-state solution, something else entirely? And I just wanted to bring that up because you know, this whole talk about a two-state solution, it's been bandied about for so many years. But you know, even if you look at the shape of those two states, it's not something workable, but yet it is still being pushed forward as something that is. Wonder whether you could talk a bit about that. Maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. I can do it in 1 minute. I can do it in 2 hours. It's up to you. So 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I will do my best, inshallah ta'ala. Working at university for 35 years, give us the skill to make it short or to make it more. Let me put it in perspective regarding this two-state solution. Balfour Declaration, when we read it, he's talking about one-state solution. Balfour, in his declaration, by the way, it's not Balfour, it is the British government declaration. But because Balfour was the foreign secretary, he was talking about one-state solution, the home for the Jews. And for the non-Jews, which is they were the majority at that time, they will be having their religious and civil rights according to that. So the one-state solution started with the British government in 1917, and then we have the Bill Commission, which they start talking about partition of Palestine. 1/3, according to Bill Commission, 1/3 to be giving to the Jews, and the rest to continue on the Arabs. And this was supported by the prince at that time, the Prince of Transjordan. And Transjordan was invented by the British as part of this colonial project. Then we have the partition resolution by the United Nations in 1947, and talking about two-state solution. So, and that was talking about, they name it Jewish state and Arab state. So Jewish is a religion and Arab as an ethnicity. And this is very, very complicated. So the idea started with the British with one-state solution. Then with Bill Commission, it became two-state solution. And then the United Nations came as a two-state solution. Every time I was in Malaysia, this question will pop up, and I don't know how this filtered or occupied the Malaysian mind. I don't know. Maybe you know much better than me. Every time I will be asked, what's about the two-state solution? What's about two-state solution? What's a two-state solution? The people who advocate two-state solution, they see this is a myth. This is a myth, and it is not applicable. If you know the border of Palestine according to the British mandate, which is 27,000 kilometers, 27,000 kilometers, it cannot accommodate two-state. It cannot state two-state at all. No. Why they are hesitant of giving any part of the West Bank? They need to take more land of the West Bank, because if you are in Jenin, you are just a few minutes from the occupied 1948. If you are in Al-Khalil, you are just a few minutes from Be'er Saba, Be'er Sheba. So geographically, cannot. Politically, cannot. And even if you listen to the intellectual among the Israelis and the Western intelligence, they say this is a myth, and this cannot happen, dividing 27 kilometers between two states. However, the leaders of the PLO, from Yasser Arafat to Mahmoud Abbas, they accept this. Tamam, we will, and they have this Madrid conference, and then later on they have Oslo, and they came and they have this Palestinian National Authority, and 20,000 of these 27 was given to the Israelis, and 5,000 kilometers was given to the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. But they did not reach establishing a two-state, because no sovereignty given to the Palestinian, to Mahmoud Abbas. And we heard Mahmoud Abbas saying several times that what he said, I'm not interested of quoting him here at this moment, because he's the sort of the problem among the Palestinians, like all the Arab leaders. So the Palestinians, they tried what I'm saying. They tried the two-state solution. It did not work. The Israelis need agent. The Israelis need an agent to work for them. They don't need another state. Even I read to some Israeli intelligence at some point in the 90s, I remember, they were saying establishing a Palestinian state is a national security for Israel. Yani, we need to establish a Palestinian state, but not with the full independent. Not with the full independent. So let me share with you my opinion within this 10 minutes. My opinion, and this is my my professional opinion and my personal opinion. The Holy Land cannot accommodate both of us. Cannot accommodate both of us. Either we or them. Either we or them. What I mean by them, I mean the Zionists. I mean the Zionists. For the Jew, they can live. They can live in the Holy Land. When they were expelled so many times by the European, where they find the right place to live in the Muslim land. When they were expelled from Spain, the Ottoman welcomed them. And during Umar ibn al-Khattab, he brought back the Jews to live on the Holy Land when the Byzantine excluded them from living there. Salah ad-Din after, because the Crusader expelled the Jews from living in the Holy Land. Salah ad-Din brought them back, and he established 3 quarters in the old city. Established 3 quarters. One of them is the Jewish quarter. One of them is the Jewish quarter. So for the Jews, no problem. If they would like to stay, no problem. Our problem is with the Zionists. The Zionists, they don't have, and this is what Umar ibn al-Khattab done with the Romans, with the Byzantine who occupied Bayt al-Maqdis. They said to them, the soldiers, the fighting army, they don't have a place on Bayt al-Maqdis. The thieves, they don't have a place, but the rest, they are most welcome to live, and he gave them al-Uhda al-Uhda al-Umariyya and Umar Salah ad-Din done so. So for the Jews, they can continue living in the Holy Land after we liberated, inshallah, and I can see the liberation will happen, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. And I'm hoping that it will be in my generation, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I'm still not an old man. I'm younger than my 20s and 30s brothers in Malaysia. I'm still young, and inshallah, with you, we will perform Salatul Fath in al-Masjid al-Aqsa in the near future, bi'idhnillahi tabaraka wa ta'ala. So for the Zionists, they don't have a place. They don't have a place. For the Jews, they are most welcome. And I will quote here our great scholar, Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, when I invited him for our first international conference in the School of Oriental and African Studies with Sheikh Ra'id Salah in 1997. And in his paper, which we published, and alhamdulillah, it was published widely, he said, we don't fight the Jews because they are Jews. We are fighting the Zionists who occupied the Muslim land. He did not say the Palestinian land. He occupied the Muslim land. So when this land is liberated, Jews, they are most welcome to live, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. So this is my professional and my personal view. This land cannot accommodate a two-state solution. This land is either for us, and I mean us, Muslims and the Christian, Muslim and the Christian, us, and them, Zionists, they don't have a place in this in this land, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala.
Okay. And thank you again for answering the question, Professor El-Awaisi. Okay, so running out of time, but then I think Dr. Hafidzi, you wanted to answer specifically how significant Malaysia's contribution is to the Palestinians. But I think also because Professor El-Awaisi, he's already answered in a way the next question which I had for him, which was how we contribute effectively to the liberation of Palestine. So whether you'd be able to put those two questions together and answer it. So one, how we can contribute effectively as individuals, communities, and a nation. And the other one is how significant Malaysia's contribution is. Yeah, over to you.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, since we are running out of time, maybe I will compress my response to that question. First, I would like to touch on the two-state solution. It's puzzling, actually, very puzzling, because why we Muslims are insisting on the two-state solution. We keep on resorting to this idea of the two-state solution. When the Israelis, the Zionists, they were rejecting them outright in the first place. Yeah? When the British came up with the Royal Peel Commission in 1936, they planned to have a population swap. 1,125 Zionists who were occupying the hinterlands, which were not infertile hinterlands. They were actually to be transferred to the fertile coastal areas, which comprise about 30 to 40% of the historic Palestine, the whole of Palestine. And then about 225,000 local Palestinians were to be transferred into the hinterlands. They were occupying the coastal regions, the port cities of Akka, Jaffa, Tel Aviv, and these were destined to be sent to the hinterlands. It's called a population swap. So the Peel Commission proposed for 30 to 40% land given to the migrants of the migrant Jews, the Zionists, and then the rest remain under the Palestinian land. You know, not only the Arabs rejected it, even the Zionists, the migrant Jews rejected it, because David Ben-Gurion, he didn't want a concession of 30% of land. He wanted the whole of Palestine. That is way back in 1936. Even when the partition plan was passed in the United Nations Resolution 181, 55% of the land was given to the Jews, 45% of the land remained under the Arabs. So even then, the Zionists were not satisfied. They took an additional of 23% that was endorsed at the Rhodes Armistice in 1949 in New York. So they ended up having 78% of land, and what was left was the West Bank, which constituted about 22%, and Gaza. Yeah. So that was a stopgap measure actually. 1967, they took the whole of Palestine, and they claimed that Judea and Samaria is part of the historical land of Israel. There's no Judea and Samaria without Jerusalem, and there's no Jerusalem without the temple. So it's very clear. Why are we so interested in the two-state solution when they even rejected it outright, and they want the whole of Palestine? So this reiterated what Professor Dr. El-Awaisi has mentioned. And then, okay, to address what are the contributions of Malaysia, I would like to highlight some of the historical aspect so that we know that we are not the ones who started this struggle to liberate Palestine. We did not start it. We just continue from our ancestors, from the previous generation. I want to quote a few examples. 1948, from the 13th to 16th of March, Ustaz Abu Bakar al-Baqir at Gunung Semanggul, he organized a convention. It's called MATA, Majlis Agama Tertinggi, the higher religious council. And he invited 5,000 delegates from all over Malaysia, Tanah Melayu at that time, and Patani, southern Thailand. And in this convention, he addressed his rejection of the Resolution 181 of the United Nations that partition or demarcate Palestine into the Jewish area and the Arab area. So he rejected this idea, and one of the resolution that was passed in Mata, another resolution is the formation of Hizbul Muslimin. Barely 3 months after that, emergency was proclaimed, was declared, and Ustaz Abu Bakar al-Baqir with no less than 1,000 leaders, Muslim leaders, the ulamas and all other profiles were taken in prison by the British. So this is one example. From the very start, before the formation of Israel, the Malaysians were together protesting and detesting Resolution 181, which gave birth eventually to the rogue state of Israel. Number two, in the first parliamentary session, 1959, we have one lawmaker, Professor Zulkifli Muhammad. At that time, we need to know this. After all, this is history. Like Professor Abdul Fattah also said, our first line of defense is knowledge. Yes, donation is good. Campaign is good. But knowledge is number one. We must make sure that we know the history in depth, not just superficial. So that when we face those who are skeptic about this, who consider that both Palestinian and Israeli are on the fault. There are even Muslim Malaysians that try to be neutral. Both of them are on the wrong. So we need to have this narrative, the correct narrative. What happened? The chronology, the facts need to be sorted out so that we have we are full of confidence in facing up to these challenges and this to the skeptics. Okay, in 1959, Tanah Melayu, Malaysia back then, has actually recognized Israel. We need to know this. Just because the United Nations recognized Israel in 1948, after the Rhodes Armistice of 1949. Okay, we need to know this. Our generation need to know this. Malaysia once has recognized Israel just because it was recognized by the United Nations. And one single lawmaker, parliamentarian, Professor Zulkifli Muhammad. He stood up, one of the most eloquent speaker in the parliament. He hold the records. He still hold the record. He managed to deliver 4 hours of speech non-stop. And in this speech, he criticized the government. There is no ground why we should recognize Israel. Even though we say that we are not going to have diplomatic relations, just on the basis that the United Nations recognize Israel. So he stood up, and because of this strong objection, Malaysia or Tanah Melayu back then dropped the motion of recognition of Israel. Alhamdulillah. So and number 3 that I want to share with the forum is in 1964, Malaysia has put up a motion which is called ASPC/C116, which is supposed to be debated on the United Nations. Malaysia is proposing that we need to appoint a custodian for all the Palestinian properties, because it was robbed by the Zionists when they came in during Nakba. Not just the houses, you must remember the properties, the farm machineries, the banking institution, business chamber of commerce, all has been robbed and confiscated by Israel. And so Malaysia proposed that we need to appoint a custodian. And of course, this was turned down when it was put up to the United Nations General Assembly. And you know what happened? This is the reminder from the Malaysian representative back then. He said, because this resolution is shot down, is rejected, so it is the responsibility of the UN to make sure to the implementation of this. We need to appoint a custodian. See, so we have been with the Palestinian issue for all the years. And one last thing, because time is not permitting, I have more examples to quote actually. In 1969, do you know what happened? Masjid al-Aqsa was burned down by one crazy. He's not crazy, but being declared as crazy. Yeah? Dennis Rohan, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Al-Fattah can correct me on that. Yeah? So he was declared as unstable or mentally unstable. You know, because of this event, 3 Muslim leaders. One, Tunku Abdul Rahman, the Prime Minister of Malaysia back then, King Hassan II of Morocco, and then Al-Malik Faisal of Saudi Arabia. Yeah? So before that, in the month of May, there was an international convention on Palestine in Kuala Lumpur. 23 nations turned up, and then we discussed about what is the way forward in defense of the Palestinian cause, in defense of Masjid al-Aqsa, and then came the arson. The tragedy on 21st August 1969. So immediately an international meeting was convened, and these 3 prominent figures put up the idea of OIC, Organization of Islamic Conference. We know now OIC is not viable anymore, because they are not addressing issues of importance of the Ummah. They only came and convened for trade issues and things like that. Yeah? But this was the reason. Yeah? This was the basis for the formation of OIC. And Malaysia has played a role, an important role, in fact, in addressing or trying to champion the issue of the Palestine, the issue of the Ummah, and the issue of the Masjid al-Aqsa. And there are many more examples that I can quote, but I think 4 is sufficient to say that we are continuing to give a voice to our brothers and sisters in Palestine. So again, I want to reiterate, knowledge is number 1. Awareness will only be built on knowledge and true knowledge, not just any narrative that is floating around in the social media. And this Zionist media, they are using every channel, every opportunity to push the wrong narrative, the falsehood, not the truth. So it is our duty, and this is an obligation of the younger generation today, because you are the professionals. Whatever field that you are specializing in is not an excuse for you not to dwell in the issue of the Palestinian knowledge base. And I would like to show you, this is a book that was published by Islamic Jerusalem Studies. I have two of them, Professor Dr. Fattah al-Awaisi, and it recorded everything that Islamic Jerusalem Studies has done, the conferences, the seminars, the papers published, and there are no less than 20 Malaysians that have actually graduated. This is up to 2007. I'm sure many more have graduated by 2021, but prominent figures like Professor Dr. Ruslan Muhammad Noor, Associate Professor Dr. Amnur Rashid Yatiban, these are the people that I think we can rely on, that we can invite to come up with seminars to empower our generation, so that we are well versed in this issue. Please take up this challenge. If you are able to study at Islamic Jerusalem Studies, if I'm younger, because I'm an alumni of University of Aberdeen, Dr. Fattah. I graduated in 1997. Of course, not in the field of Islamic Jerusalem, because I think Islamic Jerusalem Institute was established in 2002. If it has been established in the late 90s, I would have stayed, and maybe I will continue my study on Islamic Jerusalem. But no excuse, actually. If I have the time, I have the opportunity, and if I'm blessed with good health, maybe, inshallah, maybe, just maybe, I would like to enroll in a postgraduate study under your tutelage, Dr. Fattah. But I'm sure the younger generation, those in this forum, they have many years ahead of them. They are the ones who should answer to this challenge. Wallahu alam bisawab. Thank you for the opportunity, and for the opportunity, and also for the channel for us to come together and express our views, our concern. May Allah bless all of you and keep us on this straight path. And remember, this is a top priority of this ummah. Make Al-Aqsa and the issue in Palestine as a local issue, as an individual concern, not only when there is an attack from time to time, but all the time. Wallahu alam bisawab. Jazakumullah khairan kaseera.
If you allow me, Dr. Iskandar, I have an urgent complimentary to brother, if you allow me.
3 minutes?
Thank you. No, not 10 minutes. But thank you. Wallah, ya akhi, you have, Dr. Hafidzi, you have concluding very nicely. May Allah give you barakah of al-Masjid al-Aqsa, inshallah, tabarakah. And you and your family and the good work you are doing. Allow me just to follow up from what Professor Hafidzi just mentioned. Yani alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, after 2007, the work continued, because I believe that this is, I'm not a politician, I'm not a military man, but I'm an educated. So I'm trying to do as much as I can. I feel this is the field I can fight for the liberation of al-Masjid al-Aqsa. After 2007, I decided to start my journey in the Muslim country. So I have been traveling in the Muslim country for 14 years, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, since 2007, where the book my brother Hafidzi just mentioned, because this is up to date to 2007. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, things has been developed. Now we have, in addition to the Center of Excellence of Islamic Jerusalem Studies at University of Malaya, UUM, University of Malaysia, and also the work outside Malaysia. We have 2 centers now opened just recently in the last 3 years in Turkey. We established a master for the first time in the Turkish universities, in a university established by President Erdogan as a research university for social sciences. And I moved directly to this university, Social Science University of Ankara. So we have a master since 2018. And our first graduate, alhamdulillah, happened last summer. And we have a long queue of people graduating. And this year, 2001, University Mardin Artuklu established a new program, which is in Turkish and Arabic. In Turkish and in Arabic. In Malaysia, it is in Malay, English, or Arabic. But in Turkey, Social Science University of Ankara in English, and Mardin in Arabic and Turkish. So this is continue. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And from my knowledge, my close connection with Malaysia since 2001 for 20 years, and my knowledge for 9 years of Turkey, I can say that these are the 2 hopeful countries for the issue of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. These are the 2 hopeful countries in the Muslim countries. The Arab countries, the Arab countries is zero, is a big zero. And I have developed, as I said, a new perspective. I start writing, I published a little bit, but I'm developing it wider regarding that the Arab regimes is part of the Zionist establishment when they have started the project. And we can see United Arab Emirates, Al-Maktoum and Al-Nahyan and Al-Saud, etc. This is a big subject. So Arab University, I have tried, by the way, in the last 14 years, most of the Arab countries, none of them are willing to establish this field because they feel this is like what my brother Hafidzi said, this is the priority we need to bring back. And they know if we educate the Arabs, things will change. So these are the 2 countries. I know Malaysia for 20 years, and I know Turkey for 9 years. So these are the 2 hopeful countries. However, and I would like you to listen, my brothers and sisters, to me carefully. From this knowledge, I feel the country who can lead this knowledge side regarding Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa is Malaysia. I can say with confidence, knowing Malaysia, that Malaysia is in a position to lead. I will not go in details. Can lead this knowledge project for the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. Malaysians, they can continue working what they can, but they can lead, and the Muslim world can learn from them. Indonesia can learn, Turkey can learn, Bangladesh can learn, Pakistan can learn, the rest of the country can lead. And I'm putting together this plan to present it to the Malaysian government, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala, because we need this collaboration. We need this collaboration between knowledge and power. The example I just mentioned. Our brothers in Gaza, after the ceasefire, they return back for preparation militarily. Our brothers in Gaza, after the ceasefire, they return back for their preparation like what they have been doing militarily. Our brothers and sisters in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, the Murabitin, after this ceasefire, they return back to their ribat in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. In Hayy Sheikh Jarrah, your brothers and sisters, Muslims and Christians, they are returning back for their ribat in Hayy Sheikh Jarrah. And you have seen what happened yesterday to the reporter of Al Jazeera when they destroy her camera and they arrested her. And this morning, they have arrested Mona Al-Kurd, which she managed through the social media to bring the attention of the issue of Hayy Sheikh Jarrah, and they arrested her, and they are calling for her brother to be arrested. So what I'm saying, that your muqawama, your resistant movement in Gaza, they return back for the preparation militarily. Your brother and sister in Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Murabitin, in Al-Aqsa Mosque and in Hayy Sheikh Jarrah, they return back for their preparation. Malaysia must lead for the preparation of the knowledge for the coming fight. The coming battle is coming soon. The coming battle is soon. Wa'adul akhirah is coming soon. And I'm hoping that we will come to a conclusion and Malaysia can lead this knowledge side. Yani, until 2007, half of our graduate in Islamic Jerusalem studies are Malaysian. Half. And now what we are doing, my brother Professor Hafidzi mentioned two names, but I managed in the last few days to gather nine Malaysian working at different universities in Malaysia, gather them to reunite and to work developing this knowledge plan for the liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis. May Allah help us. But I'm using this platform. I know there is some MPs from the question Dr. Ishaq you mentioned, and some MPs, they are listening. If they are listening, I'm hoping they can do what they can to convince the Malaysian government. We need to lobby the Malaysian government to work in developing this lead of knowledge base in the Muslim in Malaysia, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. And I can assure you, our meeting will be in Salat al-Fathi in al-Masjid al-Aqsa in very soon, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. Thank you for giving IKRAM this opportunity for me with my good brother, Professor Hafidzi, to share our knowledge to you. It's time for action, not time for words. Assalamu alaikum wa
rahmatullahi. To both of our speakers. I think we've come to the end of the time that we have for this talk forum. I posted a feedback form to anyone who would like to fill it in. We'd be most grateful to hear anything. Dr. Hafidzi. There were still a few questions left, but I'll send them.
Dr. Iskandar, can I interject? I would like to thank Professor Dr. al-Fattah al-Awaisi for enlightening us with your views and also your what should we be planning in the future? What is our priority? Jazakumullah khairan katsira. We really appreciate that, and hopefully we can be together again in reality, not just online. when the pandemic, when the COVID is over, and I would like to seek for forgiveness if there is anything shortcoming from me, especially. And I would like also to asking the forum to excuse myself because I have another webinar coming to explain on this issue. So we will place all your advice, Dr. Fattah, close to our heart, and we will pursue what is the priority now to deepen our knowledge so that our commitment will grow from more to more, and our conviction and will become greater. And may Allah keep us istiqamah on this path, and maybe someday we will meet together, especially in Masjid al-Aqsa, insyaAllah. Wallah. Jazakumullah khairan katsira. So please excuse me, I have to go now. Dr. Iskandar, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to the brothers and sisters from UKE and also from Belia Harmoni. Till next time, insyaAllah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you once again. So I think that's the end of the time we have. We actually wanted to take a quick picture, but yeah, if everyone would open their cameras, and then our co-hosts who are here can tell us when to smile and so on.
So if everyone can book a camera, so there's quite a lot of close cameras. Tak apalah. Okay. Everybody with their cameras on, kita boleh smile. Okay, I think that itu ada satu page je.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine. So Jazakumullah khairan katsira. Inshallah we will take it forward. And hopefully this is not the last time that we meet, but like Dr. Hafidzi was saying, hopefully we can meet in person in Baitul Maqdis. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Congrats. Thank you, Prof. Al-Fattah.
Don't forget to fill in the feedback form.